welcome to Dear Romance Writer, where three writers who always deliver happily ever afters offer questionable advice for all of your relationship, work, and life problems. I'm Rowan Parrish.
I'm Avery Flynn.
And I am Zio Axelrod.
Y'all, this is our last episode of season 1. Thank you very much for sticking with us. We appreciate it. We're doing the wave and
we did it.
We did it. Thank you. So we thought it would be kind of fun. Later in the episode, we're going to talk about this year and what you guys can expect for the next season a little bit. But we wanted to kick it off, since this is our last episode of the year, to talk about resolutions. Do you all make them?
You make resolutions? I don't make resolutions per se. I do set goals for myself for the next year, but not like.
Do you write them down?
No.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I like to write them down.
No.
Look at her. Okay, if you're not watching this, Zio is like making the very emphatic no, absolutely no face.
Yeah. Like a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Okay, wait, so can I ask you a follow-up question? I feel like there are huge generalization incoming. There are the I make resolution people and the I do not make resolutions people. And in the category of not making resolutions, what to you is the distinction between making resolutions and making goals, setting goals?
I think resolution has a weight to it, like a guilt to it if you don't achieve it. You know, like people are like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And, you know, because a lot of times it's like weight loss or fitness or whatever people do. Or, you know, all the ads are like, join Planet Fitness and all this other stuff, you know, Peloton. They're already starting. But like those kinds of resolutions to me seem to carry more weight of like, if you don't achieve it, you failed somehow.
Right.
Whereas a goal is a goal. It's just that it's like, this is what I want to do. I may only get halfway, but that's still achievement. You know,
totally.
That's in my mind. That's how I separate the two. So my resolution is not to do whatever. I'm not gonna, you know, so yeah, words.
Yeah, I guess actually when you say it like that, I feel like a resolution is negative or closed, and a goal is positive and kind of.
I don't know if I make the difference that way. I see resolution as being almost more vague, right?
Really?
It is, you know, sort of vague and like big. So it's like at the same point in time, it's different than a big hairy goal, but it is like just saying the weight loss one. I'm going to lose weight this year, or I'm going to do this year, but there are no steps to get there. Mm-hmm. And to me, goals are more realistic and achievable, and there's an obvious path to get there. Right. So let's take, even though I think it's bullshit, let's take the I'm going to lose 20 pounds, right? Maybe that's your goal for whatever it is, right? If you're setting that as a resolution, that's it, right? But if you're setting it as a goal, it can be, I'm going to skip the bacon, egg, and cheese bagel from McDonald's every day, which, by the way, I love like nobody's business. And I'm going to have, you know, I'm going to make it at home. Right. You know, even something as simple as I'm going to make that same thing, but I'm going to make it at home. Or I'm going to go 5,000 steps every day. Or so it's like these actual realistic, obtainable opportunities for progress is how I see a goal. I see a resolution as just sort of this big, vague thing.
I flip those because resolutions usually were like hardcore things, like hard, you know, written in stone type goals. It was like, I'm going to do this in 30 days, or I'm going to stop this, or I'm going to do that. And it was like, if you didn't stop or didn't do, then you've broken your resolution.
Okay. I think we need our listeners to, you know.
Yeah, you guys write it in. I'm really curious.
I'm really curious. Allow me, if you will, to read to you from Merriam-Webster.
It's our boyfriend. It's time to shine.
Our real book boyfriend.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is the hottest thing you've ever said, Avery. Okay. New Year's resolutions have existed since the early 19th century and perhaps as far back as the late 17th century. It's unclear when exactly we began to pledge to ourselves what in the coming year we would do. Oh, sorry, this is not very well written. Okay. A 1671 entry from the diaries of Anne Halkett, the 17th century when every white woman was named Anne, a writer and member of the Scottish gentry, contains a number of pledges, typically taken from biblical verses, such as I will not offend anymore. Halkett titled this page Resolutions and wrote them on January 2nd, which would possibly indicate that the practice was in use at the time, even if people didn't refer to it as New Year's resolutions. So that's the 17th century. Then it was common enough by the beginning of the 19th century that people would make such resolutions that the habit was satirized. So an article from Walker's Hibernian magazine in 1802 states that the following personages have begun the year with a strong of resolutions, which they all solemnly pledged to keep, before enumerating a series of obviously fictitious resolutions, such as statesmen have resolved to have no other object in view than the good of their country. The physicians have determined to follow nature in her operations and to prescribe no more than is necessary and be very moderate in their fees. This is shady.
Wow.
Whoever
I love that.
is shady.
I
Shortly
love that.
after this, the words New Year began to appear after resolution. The full phrase New Year's resolutions was first found in the January 1st issue of a Boston newspaper from 1813 by an unknown author. I'm skimming. Yeah. Okay. So basically, since the 17th century, and they are based in the Bible, which is not a shock to anyone because what shame isn't.
Interesting.
Anyway, that may clear up.
So but the word that stuck out for me there was pledge. It's a pledge.
Yeah.
So it was a hard in stone, written in stone thing, and if you broke it,
yeah.
That's how I think of resolutions. So that's why I don't
really
use that word. I say goal.
Right. Cool. I also do not make New Year's resolutions and never have, and I don't really make goals either in terms of the new year. I definitely make like quarterly goals when I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, like book wise. But a practice that I have actually taken up recently in the last like 3 or 4 years, and I got this from a friend of mine, is having like a thought or vision or idea or question that you will try to keep in mind throughout the year, and then you change it every year based on like where your heart lies or your curiosity lies. So like one year I think hers was kindness. So she was like feeling that the world was very unkind and that she was having a hard time meeting other people with kindness, and so she was like, this is my kind of word of the year is going to be kindness, where it's not just about your actions either, it's about your contemplation. So it's like in certain moments when people are being unkind to me, I'm going to think about kindness and what it means. Or if someone is kind to me, I'm going to appreciate that and like think about the kindness. So I really like that. And I feel like it's a cool way to have a sort of like theme that both honors, like you have to choose it. So it's coming out of the previous year. Obviously, you're not just randomly going to pick like Ewok as your word if you don't have any history.
But you're really into Star Wars.
You know what? Ewok is my resolution.
Okay, great.
Screw you.
Well, people are picking their word. People, like I noticed last year, year before last, that a lot of people were picking like their word of the year, and you'll probably see it like around this time that this episode airs. People on Twitter will start putting my word for 2022 is strength. Or focus or whatever it is. And I think that's along the lines of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so too, which I like because it sort of is taking what you've been through this past year and using that to set your intentions for the next year, which I like the word intentions better than even
I like intentions.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it's all about like, there are certain things you can't control, but I think you can really control your intentions. But yeah, so I don't have any, and I haven't picked my word / theme yet. But when I do, I will certainly take to Twitter and tell everyone and let people feel like they're failing somehow in comparison. Joke. Of course, I would never do
that. / sarcasm.
/ sarcasm. Yeah. I love that. Oh man, too funny. So is the kitty cat really going to read our letter? I would
If
love to hear
only.
what the kitty cat's voice is.
Oh my gosh. So I will read our letter because Dorian Gray has jumped off my lap, the traitor. And it's not a
Rude.
terribly bad thing because I'm so sorry to announce that she is a bad reader. She's not literate. It's my fault.
Oh, Dorian.
I know.
Don't be ashamed.
Bad cat, Mom.
Oh, Dorian, when you're named after a famous literary character, you rebel through illiteracy. So
Screw reading. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Her only job is
These
looking
days.
cute and soft. All right. So I think that this letter is a great pick because it specifically addresses an issue that is likely to come up around the holidays, I think.
Mhm.
And this is an issue that I've been very interested in because my sister and her wife had a kid a few years ago. And this was not a thing that I'd really thought of before then. And now I'm just like aware of seeing it everywhere.
Mhm.
So this is from our favorite trove of assholism, Am I the Asshole? And the letter goes like this. Am I the asshole for telling my dad he can't post pictures of my newborn baby, his grandchild, on social media? So I just gave birth to my son and second child, and I've decided that aside from the posts on my private social media accounts announcing his arrival, I would not be posting him going forward for the time being. Even though my social media accounts are private, I still don't feel comfortable at this early stage of my son's life exposing him to social media as much, and I don't like to post my other child, who's 3, much either. I was on the phone with my dad, and he asked me to send him pictures of my son. I agreed under the condition that he not post any of them to his social media accounts. He became very slightly irate and told me that, quote, I wasn't going to take away the pride he has for his grandson or take away his shine, end quote. I told him that I understand what he means, but I'm not comfortable with posting my son on social media, and explained that he can express his pride without having to post pictures of him. And as long as he's seeing or receiving pictures of him, then that's all that should matter, because I don't live my life for social media or care for people that are not directly involved in my or my child's life to see them. And if he couldn't respect my conditions and reasoning, then I would not send the pictures. He then told me he doesn't want the pictures anymore, and the phone call ended abruptly. Am I the asshole?
Grandpa
No.
flounced.
Grandpa flounced, and Grandpa has some issues. Like,
You know
wow.
what? Here's what I think. Okay,
What's slightly irate?
Yeah. The kindest interpretation that I can have of this from the grandparents' perspective is there are some people who use, like, let's say Facebook, and it is honestly like getting on the phone and having that conversation with their really good friend, right?
Mhm.
So there are, like, my mother is, again, Mom, if you're listening, turn it off and go away. You're not allowed to listen to this. But if my mom uses Facebook, she found people she went to high school with, and all of this stuff. And so for her, it literally is the exact same thing as picking up the phone or going out to coffee and showing the pictures from the wallet and all of that stuff. That is how some people use social media. I at first was thinking, well, this is a generational thing, but I don't think it is, because I think there are people of all generations who do use it like this.
Mhm.
And I think there are also people who use social media but are more aware that the internet is forever, and that people see things that you don't always intend for them to see, and that there are privacy issues and all sorts of things like that, and plus, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely heard the stories of kids who may have started getting posted online when they were 3 or 4 doing really stupid things, that were cute. But then that followed them into teenagedom and early adulthood. And, oh, yeah, I really don't want to be the Charlie bit my finger kid. Right.
Mhm. Yeah, the kids who were in memes, like when memes first started.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that you're totally right that there are people who use the internet that way, and I acknowledge that that's true, and also don't care at all because, or I mean, I like to them, I say, I do not care how you use social media. If a parent tells you that you do not have their permission to do something with their child, you don't have permission. It doesn't matter.
And that's a huge difference. That's what the thing is.
Like, it doesn't matter if you don't agree. It doesn't matter if you don't understand how the internet works. It doesn't matter if you think, but my friend from high school who I haven't seen in 60 years would never upload the picture of my granddaughter in a bathing suit to a porn site. Like, you don't know. You actually have no idea. And you don't know who else has access to people's computers, and you don't know what people's intentions are. And like, if people are actually so ignorant and short-sighted that they cannot, or like uncreative, that they cannot understand how something seemingly innocent can go wrong, I'm like surprised they're alive this long.
But I mean,
it
should just come down to no. Like, there should be no reason for no need for explanation. No, I'm not comfortable with it. That's it. Like, the fact that he gets slightly irate, which she's being kind. You can tell that she's trying not to make him sound like an asshole by saying slightly irate, because irate in and of itself means that there were some raised voices or whatever. But like, just, I'm not comfortable, so no. And him trying to pressure her into letting him do it, that's just inexcusable. To me.
Agreed.
I think there are also societal expectations, and I do think that this is more generational, on what types of interactions as far as a grouping are. And I guess the easiest example that I can think of with this are like getting married. Okay, Zio, I don't know about you, but when I got married, there were invitations that I had to send out to people that I did not know.
Mm-hmm.
My husband didn't know, because they were the friends of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
with their parents' friends, basically. And so those people had to get invitations, had to be invited to the wedding. If they said yes, they were coming. So it was like, and these are people that had to be on your Christmas list if you sent out cards, and you like all of these things. And these are people you still to this day don't know.
I mean, my mother invited people to my wedding that I didn't invite. So.
Oh yeah. So I think, oh my God.
I was like, who are these people? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think there are some generational like boundary issues with, well, this person matters in my life, so therefore they have to be a part of this activity or this picture or whatever it may be. And I think sometimes it's hard when those things have to get separated. And yes, in a huge way, this should just be a no, because this is a parental child issue, and the grandparent, God love them, is not the parent anymore.
I mean, my father will ask me every time I'm in an article or something, he asks me, can I share this? Even if it's like a public thing, can I share this?
Which is amazing.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe it is generational, but maybe not. It could just be like this guy is just wants to show off. He wants to brag about his grandkids, which, that's awesome. Grandparents want to brag about their grandkids, but if your daughter is saying, I'm not comfortable having my children online, that should be okay, honey. I understand. I'll show him when I see him at the next reunion, or I'll, can I email him a picture instead or something, but just to be like, how very dare you not allow me to do this thing?
Yeah.
Right. And especially like, I don't know, I never go on Facebook anymore unless forced. So, but they used to at least have like the setting where you could say who could see a picture, and that may be too technologically advanced for some folks, but that could almost be like a happy medium.
But even
I know
even
you want
then,
to show it to Bob and Sarah and Joe Bob, so just set it to where they can see it and else can see it. But
even with a friend's setting, they can still right click and save that picture.
Yeah. Or
screenshot it, or it's just.
And this is why I feel like I totally get the generational divide thing, which I'm sure is sometimes going on, but I think that there's like, it's an issue of safety to me. I mean, I
respect.
And what?
Respect.
And respect. Yeah. Like, those children can't give consent. They're not old enough. So it is up to the parents to serve as their proxy and to speak for them. And if you cannot know if a kid would want a picture of them on the internet literally forever, it hurts no one to say no, whereas it could hurt them to say yes. And if you don't know what's going to happen to that picture, the safest thing is to say no. And this is not to shame anyone who shares pictures of their kids on social media. Some people are totally fine with it. And I get that too. But I just am like so flabbergasted at the fact that a grandparent who seemingly loves their grandkid would place the pettiness of like, I don't get to brag to my friends on Facebook over the potential safety or like consent of the child. I'm like, I don't know, do you actually love them like that?
Or undermining your own daughter's desire to protect, whether she's being even if you think she's being unreasonable,
right?
This is her child,
right?
And she's the parent, so okay, you're the mom, I respect your wishes, but that's not what happened. That's not what's happening. So right. And he hung up on her. The call ended abruptly. I mean, the wording of this email is just so kind. He's slightly irate. Yeah. The call ended abruptly. I mean, she didn't hang up on him. You know what I mean? So like, it's yeah.
And I think sometimes, I mean, I'm always interested in things between parents and grandparents about the child/grandchild, because I think so much of that is playing out issues of parenting where the grandparent, the parent's parent,
I'm gonna sit here and silently laugh. Oh my God.
Like the grandparent feels like when their kid does something with their grandchild that they didn't do with their own kid, they receive it as negative feedback. Critique. Like, I'm making a different choice about my child than you made about me. And in so doing, I am rejecting the way you raised me or registering a difference. And I think sometimes that's 100% true. And also sometimes it's like we as adults couldn't have known what we liked, didn't like, whatever, without having learned those lessons from our parents. And so with each generation, I mean, I feel like the goal is that we should like reject the things that were harmful, accept the things that were great. And like, if that could happen, wouldn't that just mean that we were like getting better as time
evolving? Yeah, there's a thing going around on TikTok. That's like a phrase, isn't it? Where there's an African American guy who he's talking about capital punishment, like, beating your kids and stuff. And he says he's like doing a duet with another video, but they're talking about how like they don't spank their kids because they're trying to break that chain of like, because your parents experienced the trauma of it and their parents experienced the trauma of it, and so they're trying to break that chain. And the comments on that are like, well, your parents, should have the right and all this other stuff. But it was a very much like you could see the learned experience and how people were receiving. It's like, I realized growing up that that's not the way to treat kids, so I'm not going to do that. And others were like, this is the only way you treat your kids, and I was like, wow, this is such a, we're at a pivotal moment here where people are like sharing their life experiences, and being a parent and being a grandparent and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think raising kids is one of the most complicated things that I've ever done in my life.
Can imagine.
Because it's not, I mean, all of the regular crap with raising a kid is kind of crazy, but just as like getting into a long-term relationship with somebody is not just a mix of those two people involved in a relationship. It is all of the stuff that they bring with them. It's their family, it's where they grew up, it's how they grew up. It's every single family in the world is bananas, but we are all bananas in a different way, right? So it's also mixing that little bit of bananas in with everything else. So you take that just in a long-term relationship between two grown adults, and that's complicated, and there are layers upon layers, and it's difficult. Adding kids to that, and you get traditions, just like exactly what you were talking about, Zia. This is the way it's always been done, so that's the way it should be done, right? But you've got differing family traditions that get mixed in with that. You've got, for the longest time, I could not understand how my sister and I could be raised by the same woman in the same environment with the same rules and be completely different. And I'll tell you right now, looking at my 3 kids, I absolutely completely understand because that's just the way it is. They're all weird and in different ways. But you also parent each child differently because you target your parenting to what fits for that child. So that brings up the, oh, he's the favorite, or, you're always easier on her, right? But that's what it is. It's targeting parenting. Then you bring in the grandparents who have their own ideas on how things should be done, or offer advice when it's not asked, or don't offer advice when it is asked, or are always involved or not involved, or, it's so flippin' complicated that, quite frankly, I'm kind of amazed that we make it happen at all. So I see this letter, and it seems like a little, very simple thing. I would imagine this is so stressful in her house, in the parents' house, and in the grandparents' house, that it's not even crazy, because I am sure what the grandparent takes this as is, you would think I would harm my grandchild who I love. You don't want me to talk about, you want me to take my grandchild's name out of my mouth, and all of these things. So exactly what you said, Roan, about it becomes not a statement on the facts, it becomes a judgment of your behavior. And so it's being able to step back and be able to see the other person's perspective, both from the grandparent perspective and from the parent perspective. And that's so incredibly difficult. And that's even before the kids are putting their own dumb opinions into things. So
Totally.
yeah, it's a lot.
I don't think
it's
she's the asshole here. I do not think she's
no,
absolutely not. And I also,
but know what this go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, the other thing this always makes me think of when I hear people talk about this are, then you've got, the people who make their living off of their families on social media. And I am super curious, in probably a little bit of a morbid way, to see what the impacts that has on those kids and what they come around with in 20 years and say.
Yeah, I'm watching. So I watch So You Think You Can Dance. It's like one of my favorite shows. And there is a couple. His name is Stephen Boss, but he goes by Twitch. He's a dancer.
I love
and
him.
Allison Holker, who is now Allison Boss. They were both on So You Think You Can Dance, I think in different seasons, met through the show. She had a young daughter. They got married. Now they have 2 kids. And they were very protective of their kids, like didn't show them on camera at first. The oldest girl, a little bit. But now they have this business called Boss Family. That's their last name. So Boss Family Business, all this dance, they do commercials. He's like a DJ on Ellen and all this other stuff. But they've incorporated their kids now into their brand, like over the last year or so, even the littlest one. They do dance videos together and all that stuff. And I've watched the girl, like the teenage girl, she's now 13, grow up over the last few years, sort of like standing in the corner. And now she's got her own Instagram account. And now she's posting her own stuff. And I'm really curious to watch her grow up and see how she develops, They seem on paper to be really awesome people and really great parents and stuff like that. But I am really curious to see how these kids turn out growing up in the spotlight, even if it's not a big spotlight, but it's still, you're on social media every day. I mean, every day they're on social media. So
yeah, I mean, I think there are as many ways to do social media as there are to do anything else. And I certainly don't think that it has to be a hard and fast, like absolutely not ever kind of thing in order to keep your children safe. And I feel like, Zio, what you're talking about is such a great example of someone who like started out with one attitude, maybe like gauged the responses that they were getting or the way the kids felt, and as they got a little bit older went and changed a little bit. But I feel like that is like, it's a privilege to be kind of in your right mind enough and in control enough to be able to cope with that. And I feel like I'm reading this letter and I'm like, that's what this grandfather needs, is a little bit of moderation, right? From the point of view of the mom who wrote the letter, I feel like she's like, I know that other people cannot be trusted to make the smart choices on an individual case-by-case basis. And because I can't trust them, I just have to say a hard and fast no, so that I'm just controlling it from the get-go. And I feel like there are so many things that are like that, where you're like, it's not that I'm actually totally against this, it's that I don't trust people to act right and like think things through. So I have to put a kibosh on it before it just like gets out of control. And so my mom is an anthropology professor. And when my sister and I were little, my mom used to like use anecdotes about us sometimes in her lectures to demonstrate certain things, because, you know, kids are like such great examples of like before cultural norms have kicked in, like what do your kids say? And I remember, and I didn't mind. I mean, she started doing it, I think, before we were young enough to like consent, but also this was just talking to a group of people and never using our names or anything and just telling stories. But then when we were a little older, I think both my sister and I thought it was kind of cool, because like college kids are cool and they know who we are. And one time I had a substitute, no, who was it? I don't know. I ran into someone when I was in high school who was in college, so was a little bit older than me. So it was like a teaching assistant
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said something about my mom being an anthropology professor, and my last name, like not my pen name, but my real last name is pretty recognizable. And so this person was like, oh my God, I just put it together. I know you. You're the kid who wiped her snot on your mom. And I was like, what? And then I realized that my mom still told these stories of us being little kids, even though now we were teenagers. And I didn't care. Like, it's not super embarrassing to wipe snot on your mom when you're like a 2-year-old, you know, but I am a super private person. It's one of the reasons that I use a pen name. And I didn't even show my face on social media until a few years ago, like for the first several years of being an author.
When we went to Rare.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's basically your fault.
Yes, it's my fault.
And yeah, but I was just,
do it.
It's true, you did. I mean, and
I wanted to take pictures with you, and you were like, how do I do this and keep my face off of social media? Yeah. And
I feel like you gave me such loving, supportive words of like what benefit it could have, and I really took them to heart and I started doing it. But I really clung to that for a long time, and that was like when I was in my 30s. I was still not wanting, because like once you do it, you can't go back. Once there's a single picture of you, a recognizable picture of you on the internet, you can never get it back. So that is a choice that is like, you can never change your mind about. And I feel like, anyway, yeah, so I didn't care that my mom had told the story about me wiping my snot on her. But if it had been a picture, I think I would have felt differently. Like if someone could have posted a picture of me on Facebook in my current state, and then a picture of me like ass out in a playground, like wiping my snot on something, or like, I would have been not mortified because I think there's anything wrong with that behavior, but mortified because I do not actually want people like in my graduating class as a high school student to see that. Or like, I never had personal social media when I was in grad school, because also I didn't want my students to be able to have that. And I think that it's just like, it's so short-sighted to not understand that like when you make choices for other people that they can't take back, you are taking away from them the right to make that choice for themselves. And I just think that that is something that like all parents and people who have access to children in any way should think about, not because you're like being a monster or being terrible, but because like that child is an unformed person who hasn't had a chance yet to construct the view of themselves that they want the world to see. And if you do that for them, you're taking away their opportunity to construct that for themselves from scratch. And I think that sucks. And I think everyone should have the right to construct their own version of who they are. And so I feel like that's the real issue for me, is not the should you, shouldn't you, what's the real danger? I mean, I think those things are all true, but I guess that, it's like a consent issue. And I value so much my ability to like construct my own sense of who I am as a person and put that out there, that if someone like takes that away, I think it's unfortunate.
There's something about our society and children where people feel like they deserve access to a cute kid or pregnant mom, like, rubbing the belly without permission, that kind of stuff. Like,
oh my
but
God.
and you see it a lot with celebrities, when celebrities have kids and they don't want to show those kids, the way that the media and their fans treat them as if they're horrible people for not sharing pictures of their kids or covering their. I remember back in the day, Michael Jackson used to cover the face of his kid with the blanket and stuff, and they were like, oh, he's so weird, he's so creepy, he's so this. It's like, he's just protecting his child. Like Beyonce did the same thing, protecting your child. And people get really, they have the sense of like ownership of like children that they see and like think they're adorable or cute. But that's great, but that doesn't mean you have to interact or take a photo or share or do whatever. Like, it's weird.
Yeah,
it is weird.
Yeah, I feel the same way about people who sort of like take pictures of strangers and post them on the internet, as if like whatever you happen to have a view of through your eyes belongs to you and you can do whatever you want with it, with seemingly no thought that like that is a real person who, because of the power of the internet, people will attach a name to that person so quickly, and then like that's in their world.
It's like the live tweeting of was a couple months ago on a plane, somebody live tweeted a conversation, like a meet cute between the people in the aisle behind them, and we were at Romance Landia kind of went, oh my gosh, it's so sweet, and I was like, yeah, that's really sweet, but also really creepy. Like you're live tweeting these so real people who are talking, and I think one of them was like, that's my life, like, why are you doing this? It's the internet is
I think that's an attitude though that at least somewhat is starting to change.
Yeah.
I think we are, as a society, becoming at least a little bit more cognizant.
I think the pandemic has something to do with that, because we were all living via social media for almost a year.
I could do it too.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I'm going to move us along to talk about this fun little podcast thing that we do, Dear Romance Writer. Season 1.
Man,
we started. I don't know why, but I was thinking we started in August. I'm a big fat liar.
I have no idea. You could tell me it was August, I would believe you.
No, our first episode was February 11th. It aired February 11th. And let's see, I'm going through right now. If you guys go to Dear Romance Writer and click on episodes, you can click on any episode you may have missed and be able to re-listen to it. But some of the guests that we've had were Becky Burrier from Buzzing About Romance, Kelly Reynolds from Boobies and Newbies. We had Sarah McLean. We had Angela M. Lopez, Talia Hibbert. Let's see who else. R.L. Merrill, B.B. Easton. Let's see. I'm rolling through. Katie Robert. Yeah. El Penelope.
Yes.
Dr. Robin Smith came along. We had both of Christina Lauren. We had Christina and we had Lauren. So we had Christina Lauren. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through. We had Annabeth Albert. Let's see. Gabriel Miller. And Audrey Carlin and Scarlett Cole, and we just recently last week had Penny Reed.
Yeah,
we have had a
all-star list.
Stop by. We've had a lot of people stop by, which is pretty amazing.
And thank you again to everybody who has been here with us, because we appreciate you taking a chance on this fledgling podcast.
Absolutely. And we appreciate the fact that you guys sort of followed along with us as we went from a twice a month episode to weekly. Sorry, I've been not drinking today. At least not yet. But going to the weekly podcast, that has been pretty amazing too. So I want to know, are there letters or guests or discussions that stick out to you guys?
Oh man,
from the past year.
I mean, the one we just had with Penny, that was amazing. RL, I think having RL here on the day with that particular topic and letter that we got was like, the universe was like, here you go, here's this gift. And having my aunt on here was pretty surreal. like Avery was like, you didn't say much the whole episode. It's like, because when you're with family, you kind of was like, you turn into like the 12-year-old again. I think I turned into the 12-year-old.
Like, I'm just listening.
I see Aunt Robin. Yes, Aunt Robin. No, Aunt Robin.
That's funny.
Yeah, I feel like my favorite episodes were the ones where we didn't even realize how well the guest was going to match up with the letter, which is what happened with RL.
Yeah.
I feel like Sarah McLean also, there was like a synchronicity.
Yeah.
It happened a couple times. And what was so fun about that was like, we would read the letter and then the guest would be like, wait, did you pick this because you knew I was coming on?
BB was the same.
Yeah, BB. I was just thinking about BB.
And we were like, we didn't,
that was a lot like
know
that.
this about you, so we didn't choose it for that reason. And then they're like, no, like literally this letter is about my life.
Yeah.
And I just feel like certain synchronicities like that, they just happen in cool ways. And I have loved that. And I'm really looking forward to that going forward, that like there will be letters that are perfect for certain guests that we'll have, and maybe they'll just find each other.
Oh, we forgot AC Arthur. We just had AC Arthur on too.
Oh,
which hasn't aired. As the time of this recording, it hasn't aired yet, so it's not on the list. But she was there too. Yeah, no, you're right. We have some sort of like podcast fairies or something that keep matching us up.
So do y'all have dream guests for next season? Should we just put it out there?
I really want to get.
I would love to hear
on here.
Wait, sorry, say
Kristen
again.
would be great.
Kristen Higgins, like we've been dancing around like having her on. So we'll have to definitely make that happen in season 2.
Well, we already know some of the guests that are coming along that we're going to have on. So I don't know if we should share or not, but pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I would love.
Should we just tease like one little guest?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, you can tease one.
No, you do it, Avery.
We're gonna have the fabulous Jen Probst, who, if you guys, she is wonderful. She is super kind and generous with offering advice. Number one, and she's got great writing books that also are fabulous for some great writing related and life related advice. Writing Naked, I thought, was just a fabulous book. I highly recommend that one. That's one of my favorites.
She's amazing. I would love to have Kennedy Ryan join us.
Kennedy would be amazing.
If she can find a minute to squeeze into her amazing schedule. So if you're listening, Kennedy, we want you on here. I'm trying to think.
So
I would love to get like, we've had a couple of people who were not authors. We had Gabriel Miller, we had Dr. Robin. I would love to get like a narrator or like a model or somebody who's like just on the fringe of our area. That would be kind of cool. Or somebody totally off.
That would be great.
Yeah, I would love to get authors from other genres too.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's fun to have, like, I love having creative people. It's so fun to come from a common place. So I'd love to get some authors from other genres besides romance, maybe some like film folks or musicians.
Yes.
Super cool.
I'm trying to talk someone into coming on.
Ooh.
Somebody to come on. I'll let you know. A musician, a singer.
Cool.
That you know.
Well,
that I know.
Well, if you
everyone
think about
knows.
it, when you work in a creative field, especially I think writing books and the types of books that we write, that is one of the things when we're planning this podcast and thinking about things that we could do, is the fact that we are obsessed with motivation, and we are obsessed with why people do what they do, and then consequences of people doing what they do, and what happens when they do the wrong stupid thing. So so I think that is a great fit with anybody in those creative fields in dealing with motivations and emotions and the baggage that we carry around with ourselves. And that's just a huge thing. So I would love to know from listeners who they.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, send us, DM us, write us.
Yeah.
Tell us who you'd love to hear on the show, and
I'll post the question in our stories and on my stories as well.
That would be good.
Awesome. We should do like a contest where we get a letter writer to come onto the show.
Oh, that would be fun. Well, one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, they actually have reader selections, and the readers will send in, they have like a list of topics, and readers will send in and vote for them and say, hey, I like this one. And it's a true crime one. So here's a crime that ties into this that you could highlight and blah, blah, blah. And that's how they pick some of their episodes, which is really fun.
That's cool.
I
mean, yeah, I mean, if a person...
So if you see a great Am I the Asshole, send it in to us.
Send it in. Or if there's a topic you want us to discuss, it doesn't have to be like a personal problem, but like if there's a topic you want us to discuss,
Yeah.
This is your podcast. We are here for you.
Whatever, it's our podcast.
All right, so we are almost to 2022, which is freaky.
Yeah,
and we are planning to stick with the format we've got right now for you guys. We're planning on sticking to continually having guests, and to although we do love our episodes when it's just us. And then also being able to post weekly episodes as well. So more of the same fun, but with different people.
You know what would really help us in our goals is if you would send us more letters.
Yeah.
Yes. Send in your letters, please.
Send in your letters.
Send in your letters. Send us with other people's business. We know you guys know other people's business.
Oh my God. This is why I am so like, it is rude that you're not writing us letters. And I'm going to tell you why. It's rude.
You tell them, Ro. Tell them.
I'm going to tell them. You nosy little bitches are up in everyone's business. I know you are.
You're all over Twitter with it.
I see you on Instagram. I see you being TikTok. Like, I'm writing from a burner account or whatever. I know you've got dirt. And you are refusing to put that dirt into a letter.
Anonymous letter.
Anonymously. Like, your coworker is a piece of shit. I want to hear about it. You don't have to use names. Your mother thinks you want to die. Write to me about it. Like, now I'm just getting that. What are you doing? What are you doing that is so important that you are not writing us letters?
Yeah.
We are here to pass judgment and give that advice.
We want to hear from you.
Bitches.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oy, no, it's been really cool. And it's been awesome to do it with you guys because we are so similar, but not the same. You know, like our personalities mesh really well together, but we're so vastly different. Like Rowan and I click on some things and Avery and I click on other things and you guys click on stuff, but it's like we bring three different perspectives, which is really cool. Like it's been fun.
It's true. And I really actually love the letters where we all disagree.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting. Well, it's such a great reminder that like even you can be like we
cough, step siblings, cough.
We're all all these things that we overlap on and we can still just like violently disagree about certain things.
And then be like, I love you.
Yeah. I love you, but you couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Yep. Love
we
it.
Are. Yeah. They should give us world peace next. We've got it.
No, but we're really looking forward to 2022. Lots of really cool stuff coming up. And yeah, so write to us. You have a little break now. You come up with all your Am I the Assholes or your TikTok stuff and put them in a little list and send it to us and give us some stuff to talk about so we can entertain you and ourselves.
Yes, because we will not be back until January 13th.
January 13th is our next episode. Yeah.
We'll be back.
So thank you for being with us for our first season of Dear Romance Writer. We would not be here without you. We look forward to hanging out with you in season 2. We'll be back with a new episode, like we said, on January 13th. Until then, remember to send us your questions, your topics, your pet peeves, whatever it is. We cannot wait to give you our questionable advice from your trio of happily ever after enthusiasts. Until then, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Hana Kwanzaa, all the good things. And we will see you in 2022. It sounds so scary.
Yeah.
We'll see you next year.
All right. Happy New Year, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you so much for subscribing to Dear Romance Writer. Remember to keep sending in those letters at dearromancewriter.com. We can't wait to tell you what to do. Dear Romance Writer is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love, frolic.media/podcasts.